What is up, traders, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be analyzing NVIDIA before its key earnings report on Wednesday. We'll be looking at the chart across all time frames from the daily all the way towards the 5-minute to fully analyze whether NVIDIA is a buy ahead of its key earnings report. So without further ado, let's start. So as you can see here, we are on a daily chart of NVIDIA, and the stock has been very outperforming. Ever since the April lows here, we can see we are actually a little bit around 115% return. Any investors that initiate any position here or actually add into any positions are actually, laughing right now. They're enjoying their profits here. But I would like to analyze here what NVIDIA's earnings are expected to be here. So we can see that their estimate is around $1.25 here, with the revenue estimate coming at around $55 billion here. We can see here, though, that it's a very big growth here, especially from last year. And Jensen CEO here also explained that NVIDIA expects around $500 billion worth of backlog orders. That's very bullish for the company and for the entire AI industry. Now, I believe that on the earnings, they will report good numbers, but we may see a sell-off, just like how we saw on Meta and the majority of the entire Mag 7 except for Amazon and Google, which actually I think bid up after the earnings date here. So if we look here, the stock actually found a little bit of a top here, and we actually formed a declining here initiation here towards the downside. We've been declining, we've been bouncing on the 50 MA, right, every single time. For example, here, and here. But with the most recent touches, we haven't had that extension, right? So we've been touching the 50 MA, we've been finding buyers, but each time with less vigor and with less overall strength here, as you can see. Now, today, the stock is actually around $187 per share here, obviously not near the highs of around $213, but I believe that the stock should hold the levels of 178 here, or we can say 179. If there's a sell-off after the earnings, we believe that there will be support found at the levels of 168. Prior from that, then $164. And if it's even a deeper correction, then maybe towards this level of 162. But this all depends, obviously, on the overall earnings report and how the market does decide to take this into consideration, right? Especially with the Wall Street estimates and the growth. We've been seeing that NVIDIA's growth has been very exponential, and any deceleration may signal to investors that, hey, we may be slowing down here, especially with the AI trade. Now, looking here at the overall anchored VWAP from the prior swing high here, obviously the buy was around this date here. We can see the buy was at this zone. We got above this swing high anchored VWAP and above the 50 EMA. Something I want to reiterate here as well is that, so like I said, if the stock does decide to sell off in general, we may start to see the initiation of a downward trend. So we may, sell off, see that over the next couple of months, right, and downward, and then eventually go towards that overall level. Now, this would be the bearish scenario, but we should be optimistic here because the majority of retail traders have a position here on NVIDIA. There's been lots of profit taken, though, on the rest of the Mag 7. But I do believe here that NVIDIA is still towards my price target of 258. I believe that with the current valuations, the stock is a little bit undervalued. There can be a little bit more upside here. This would mark an overall 37% increase here towards the upside on NVIDIA, but I am firmly bullish on this name. I just believe that before the earnings date, we will see some type of sell-off and maybe a demand at lower levels. Now, on the hourly chart of NVIDIA, we can see here that the stock has been selling off, obviously, from the highs. But something I want to show here is using the anchored VWAP from this high, we can see that is where we've been finding resistance of the past couple of trading sessions. We actually bid up here on the 10th of November, and we sold off quite heavily towards this low, where we found support at 181. And that is where we found overall resistance today here during the pre-market trading session at around 1 to 2 in the morning. That is where we found the sellers, although we are finding a little bit of buyers here at this general zone. But I believe that if the stock does manage to break above that area of resistance and come back and test it, then we can form that higher high and higher low formation that would initiate the upside momentum, and we'll be seeing something like this with the year-to-date anchored VWAP facility start to go up here like that, and the buy in general would be around this zone around here which is where the buyers are now fully in control. You can always wait for the pullback here towards VWAP, so you make sure that this does not happen, right? Because this was like a fake off. We captured some higher liquidity at these highs here, right? And all these people that went long, well, they had to cover back because, you know, the stock declined here. So NVIDIA looks pretty bullish here if it does manage to break above that area here of key resistance. Now, breaking it down even deeper, we can go towards a 5-minute chart and look at this intraday for a day trade. Now, simply the stock is actually pretty flat on the day. We're, you know, kind of rejecting a little bit of the 50 MA, but we are finding support at these lower levels, and each time we're forming higher lows here. We can see here, although we are forming this, so it's kind of like a compression pattern. This may go either way towards the upside or towards the downside here, obviously based off that, but using pivot points, we can kind of gauge where the momentum can go. So if the stock declines here, it can, you know, find support, and it can be shorted towards 183 and maybe towards 176 here on the day. If it does shoot up, then we believe that it can go towards 194 and then towards 197 here on the day. But this all depends if obviously the stock decides to go in either trend or decides to, you know, just be flat here on the day. Something that I want to show as well is that we can use the pre-market levels to plot as areas of support and the pre-market high as resistance. And generally, when we are in between these two levels here, like between this, we tend to be flat. We tend to not really go towards the upside, towards the downside. So it generally tends to be a trendless day, more of a consolidation area. I'm expecting that, you know, with the key earnings coming up here on Wednesday, a lot of nervousness here, especially on NVIDIA, but we actually undercut the pre-market low here at the open, and we found buyers there, and we're actually asked for the levels that we are holding here. Each time here, the buyers are becoming a little bit more aggressive, so I believe that this may go towards the upside, but we never know here. Obviously, we got to be very, very cautious with the price action here. So I just stated my price targets on NVIDIA here for the short-term day trade as of today, November 17th here. If it goes toward the downside, then the first profit target towards 183, upside, then towards a profit target of 193 here on NVIDIA. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and as always, don't let the markets whip you guys out. I'll see you guys on the next one.